Aquarius, welcome to your astrology reading for the month of July. So the way this is structured, this is going to be most applicable for your rising sign. It's also known as your ascendant. It's also applicable for your sun sign and your moon sign. And so your rising sign is how other people perceive you, especially when they first meet you. Your sun sign is how you express yourself, and your moon sign is how you process everything internally through your emotional lens. So just to kind of talk a little bit about the energy in the month of July. So July is an interesting one. We actually have our second full moon in the sign of Capricorn. This is very unusual. We usually just have one full moon in each sign throughout the year. And so to have two in the same calendar year, it's very unusual. We just had one on the 21st of June. We'll have our second one on the 21st of July. And so a lot of emphasis here on how you feel about any kind of responsibilities that you have, any long-term plans that you've set up for yourself, maybe any structures that you have in place here, because Capricorn likes to be structured. And so we'll get into that as we kind of a little bit later in the month when I talk about that, when we get closer to the 21st. Early on in the month, we'll actually have Neptune station retrograde, and this is really interesting, and this is where it gets really interesting, is because Pluto already stationed retrograde. So Pluto, planet of transformation, sitting in your sign, Aquarius. Then we had Saturn, another outer planet, stationed retrograde in the sign of Pisces. This is all about working on yourself or working internally on your goals and your dreams. We have Neptune station retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So I'll talk about that here in a second because that really kicks off the month. And then at the end of the month, we have Chiron station retrograde in the sign of Aries. And that's all about your wounds coming to the surface. So kind of jumping right in here, Neptune station retrograde in the sign of Pisces. That's going to happen on July 2nd. So just days after Saturn station retrograde in Pisces, we have Neptune station retrograde. This one's going to happen at 6:40 in the morning Eastern time. And Pisces energy is all about your dreams, your goals, like what is your ideal state here? Neptune is the same energy. Neptune rules the sign of Pisces. And so it's really a lot of emphasis here on your money. This is sitting in your second house of personal finances, the things that you value. And so what are your financial goals? Like what is it that you want to do here? Because with this Neptune station retrograde, instead of maybe working externally to get that money saved or invest in whatever it is that you want to invest in, now it's an internal reflection on what is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? What are my goals? What should they be? So this Neptune retrograde will trine Mercury in the sign of Cancer. So Mercury in Cancer for you is sitting in your daily life. Just your normal routines, not those kind of one-off things that happen where you go to like a wedding once a year or something like that. This is more about your daily life. And so when you think about your financial goals and maybe understanding the impact in your daily life, or maybe the way that you want to communicate in your daily life, or maybe communicate your financial goals in your daily life. And so this energy is going to really easily blend. You might be having conversations with somebody around investments, or what do you need to do? Maybe how do you need to save more money on a regular basis? Because again, that sixth house is about those things that you do on a regular basis. Neptune retrograde will also sextile the moon in the sign of Taurus. And so when you think about what are your financial goals, it's creating some sort of opportunity in your home environment. What do you need in order to feel grounded? Like you can emphasize here what you value in your home life, because this is creating some sort of opportunity for you. It's an opportunity you would have to take advantage of. This is not something that's just going to be handed to you. When it comes to these financial goals, so this Neptune retrograde in Pisces, it's also going to create opportunities for you to make some changes in your home environment. So it's not just about that moon, like what do you need in order to feel grounded? It's also about what do you need to remove so that you can feel grounded? Is there something here that you've been holding on to that you just don't need here anymore? It just doesn't have any value for you anymore. It might be time to let go. And that's all really an opportunity, and it's based on your financial goals. And so again, your financial goals here, it's creating another opportunity in order for you to continue making changes to yourself, because it is going to be sextile Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. It's a lot of words, but this has a lot to do with your physical self, the changes that are taking place in the way that you want to be seen. So what are your financial goals? How does that relate to how you want people to see you? Then we have Mercury enter the sign of Leo. So that's also going to happen on the 2nd, just a few hours later at 8:50 in the morning. And so when Mercury enters the sign of Leo, Leo is in your 7th house, so your significant relationships. Spouse, if you're married, could also be contracts, things like that. But more often, it's those significant kind of key relationships in your life, those one-to-one relationships here. And so Mercury in the sign of Leo indicates there might be some sort of bold conversation that's happening in those relationships. And that is going to easily blend with whatever goals that you've set for yourself financially. When you think about those goals, it's all going to blend together. So whatever conversations are taking place, easily blend. We'll have Mercury in Leo sextile the moon in Taurus. And so the conversations that you're having with your significant other, these kind of maybe very bold, necessary type of conversations where it's getting everything out in the open because Leo doesn't like to keep things hidden or anything like that. Sextile moon in the sign of Taurus and also Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so what this is doing, the conversations you're having with your significant other, it's creating some sort of opportunity for you to make some sort of change in your home environment so that you can feel more grounded, that there's an emphasis here on what you value, getting rid of all those things that just don't belong. Mercury in Leo will square Chiron in Aries. And so the conversations that you're having with your significant other or those significant relationships, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to healing a wound coming to the surface. This one is interesting because it's a lot of emphasis here on conversation. Chiron in Aries is sitting in your 3rd house of communication. And so you might have some wounds around maybe the way that you communicate with other people or the way that people interpret you. And so the way that you're talking or the conversations that you're having with your significant other, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge in order for you to heal that communication wound. We'll also have Mercury in Leo opposite Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so the conversations that you're having with your significant other, it's opposite to the changes that you're making to yourself. And so something about the way that you want to be seen, the way that you're transforming, the way that you're seen by other people, it is directly opposite to these bold conversations that you're having with your significant other. And then on the 5th, we'll have the new moon in the sign of Cancer. So that's going to happen at 6:57 in the evening, Eastern time. I really like this moon because it's the sun and the moon in the sign of Cancer. So a heavy emphasis here on your feelings. The moon is the ruler of Cancer. So the sun does not feel comfortable here at all, but the moon absolutely does. So what it's doing is it's highlighting the depths of your feelings as it relates to your daily life, because this is sitting in your 6th house. These are the things that you do on a regular basis. You feel really good about all of it. You understand the impact and kind of how everything works together in your daily life to make you feel better about things, or maybe not. Maybe your understanding of like, okay, this piece of my life has this kind of impact on me, because you're really digging deep into those feelings and understanding the impact here. We'll also have the sun and moon conjunct Venus in the sign of Cancer. And so the new moon, because the sun and the moon, the energy is completely blended. These two planets together will have lots of conversations with other planets, and the energy is just with the sun and moon going to blend. And so really understanding your daily routine, how do you feel about that? What is it that you want to hold on to? Venus is all about the things that you value. So what do you want to bring together? What do you want to hold on to in your daily routine? Really emphasizing here what you value more than anything else. And how does that impact you emotionally? Because again, heavy emphasis here on emotions with that moon in Cancer. We'll have the sun and moon trine Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And so Saturn, when it's stationed retrograde in Pisces, this is all about the internal work that you need to do in order to achieve your goals. For you, Saturn retrograde in Pisces is sitting in your house of personal finances. And so this new moon and the way that you feel about your daily life easily blends with whatever work you're doing in order to achieve your financial goals. The sun and moon in Cancer will sextile Mars in the sign of Taurus. And so when it comes to the actions that you want to take in your home environment, this new moon is going to create an opportunity for you to maybe get rid of those things in your home life that just don't belong, don't hold any value anymore. Maybe they did at one point and now they don't. So Mars likes to separate things. So this is about releasing something here that just doesn't work for you anymore. We'll have the sun and moon square Chiron in the sign of Aries. And so how you feel about your daily life, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to healing a wound connected to your communication or maybe the way that other people perceive you. We'll have the sun and moon also square both of the eclipses, so the north node and the south node. North node is in the sign of Aries, so that is in that house of communication. So really getting into the depths of how you feel about your daily life. It's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to the work that you need to do from a communication standpoint. This is also connected to that Chiron energy. The sun and moon will also square the south node in the sign of Libra. So south node is where you feel comfortable. In the sign of Libra, Libra occupies your 9th house. And so there's something about your growth and feeling very steady in that growth, feeling very comfortable with that. But this is also almost like a reevaluation of your daily life and really focused here on how everything kind of affects you emotionally. It's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to these kind of comfort zones that you've already created for yourself as it relates to your growth or something along those lines. Growth and stability, because I'm getting the words growth and stability. So it's probably something like that. Like you're on this steady path of growth and now all of a sudden this might be throwing it out of alignment a little bit. It's a square energy, you can work through it. And then on the 11th, we'll have Venus enter the sign of Leo. So that's going to happen at 12:19 in the afternoon Eastern time. And so again, Leo is sitting in your house of significant other, that one-to-one relationship, spouse if you're married. And so when Venus enters into the mix, and so Venus sitting in that house, Venus likes to bring things together. So it's sitting in your house of significant relationships. Venus likes to bring things together. This is going to easily blend with whatever your financial goals are. There is a trine to this Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So I love to see that whatever you're doing with your significant other really kind of flows into these financial goals that you have. Maybe being loyal. So Venus in Leo is also kind of a loyal type of energy as well, because Leo is very loyal, and Venus, again, focused here on relationships in the house of relationships. This Venus in Leo will sextile the moon in Virgo, and it will also sextile, well, I'll talk about them one at a time. So sextile the moon in Virgo. Moon in Virgo, it's all about thinking about how you feel about something. For you, it's in the 8th house of transformation. So this is a death and rebirth house. It could be intimacy issues. It could be things like power and control issues, things like that. It could even be other people's money. So if you are married, because there is a connection here between your significant other and this 8th house energy. So it could be that spouse's income. It could be the income you get from your employer, things like that. What this is doing, so something about your relationship, your significant other, maybe the loyalty to you that you have to this person, it's creating some sort of opportunity to do something with your finances or maybe heal through some sort of transformation. Because I'm definitely picking up that energy. Virgo is definitely one of those healing type of energies. It's thinking, but it's thinking with a purpose. It's kind of taking yourself out of the big picture, taking that step back to say, okay, what do I need to do to heal? Venus in Leo, sextile Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so again, being very loyal to your significant other, it's creating some sort of opportunity here for you to make changes in your home environment, get rid of those things that aren't of value anymore. And it's really more about maybe not just being loyal to your significant other, but really emphasizing here, what do I need to do in order to keep this relationship going? What do I need to work on with this other person? Venus in Leo will be opposite Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so really focus here on that one-to-one relationship. It's going to be opposite whatever changes are taking place to you physically. And so there is this kind of push-pull that's happening here. It's almost like if you're trying to make something work with another person, you might need to reevaluate the changes that you're making to yourself. That would be a way to work through this opposition energy. Then we have Mars enter the sign of Gemini. So that's going to happen on the 20th at 4:43 in the afternoon Eastern time. And so I really like Mars in Gemini just because, I mean, my moon's in Gemini, so I just really appreciate this. Gemini likes to get into the details. And with Mars in the mix, it's about the action as it relates to those details. It's about having all of the facts presented to you, trying to, and really understanding the truth of the situation. So whatever decisions that you make, whatever actions that you're taking right now, they're going to be informed actions. And for you, that's sitting in your 5th house. That 5th house occupies children. It's really those things that you enjoy doing outside of work. So your passion projects, hobbies, short-term relationships could also be highlighted here. I say that because not everybody wants a significant other. Some people are fine with those kind of casual flings. That would be fifth house energy. And so Mars and Gemini, whatever action that you're taking as it relates to your passion projects, your hobbies, kids, all of those things, it's easily blending with whatever financial goals that you've set for yourself. Mars and Gemini, sextile Moon and Virgo. And so the actions that you're taking as it relates to fun, children, passions, things like that, it's creating an opportunity for you to have some sort of healing transformation here and maybe understand how this is impacting you on an emotional level. Mars and Gemini will also sextile Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so the actions that you're taking in your passions, with your children, any of those, is creating opportunities for you to make changes in your home environment. Really getting rid of all those things that just don't have any value anymore. Mars and Gemini will also square Chiron in the sign of Aries. And so the actions that you're taking as it relates to your hobbies, children, things like that, it is creating obstacles or challenges to this communication wound that's coming to the surface, or something here that needs to be addressed. Aries energy does want you to address this wound, but it just more feels like now's not the right time. There's emphasis on other areas of your life. When Chiron stations retrograde at the end of the month, you're going to see that this starts to pick up momentum and that this is now going to have a chance to heal. Mars and Gemini will be opposite Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so any kind of informed action that you're taking as it relates to children, your hobbies, things like that, directly opposite the changes that are taking place. And so again, kind of maybe rethinking some of the changes that you want for yourself, just going back and rethinking it all, because this Pluto retrograde, it's about you internalizing what changes need to take place in order for your physical person to be seen differently, or something along those lines. Then we have our full moon in Gemini. So this is our second full moon. This is going to happen on the 21st at 6:17 in the morning. And when this happens, you've got the sun and the moon. They're at opposing points in the sky. For you, this is 12th house energy, 6th house energy. So the moon in your 12th house is all about this sense of responsibility, your duties, the way that you feel about these things, sitting in your subconscious. So these are kind of patterns of behavior that you've already set for yourself. And it's going to be directly opposite about how you feel about your daily life, and maybe the depths of the emotions of the impact of things happening in your daily life. And so this is an opposition energy. What you're going to find during this full moon is it's going to be more intense than the last full moon that we had in the sign of Capricorn, just because this is towards the later end of the degrees. This is right before the sun moves into Leo. And so you're going to feel this one more intensely than you did the last one. But these two planets are going to have conversations with planets, but in different ways. And so we'll have the moon trine Mars and Gemini. So how you feel about yourself, the structures that you already put in place, all of these things are easily going to blend with whatever changes that are happening within that house of passion projects, children, short-term relationships, all of those things. Whereas the sun sitting in your 6th house, it's all about, okay, how do I feel about my daily life, and what kind of opportunity is that creating for me to maybe make additional changes in that house that occupies children and all of those fun things like your passion projects, hobbies, short-term relationships. We'll have the moon actually and the sun both square Chiron in Aries. And so this one is a little bit unusual just because they're both creating some obstacles here. So how you feel about your daily life and how you feel about yourself are both creating some sort of obstacle or challenge as it relates to this Chiron and Aries energy, that wound that needs to be healed connected to your communication. And it's more, again, like now's not the right time to be addressing it. There's other things that are kind of more pressing. If you wanted to work through it, though, you could. It just requires some effort on your part. And then we have the moon will trine Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so how you feel about yourself internally easily blends with whatever changes you want to take in your home environment, because this is a trine. It's going to just organically happen. It's about releasing all of those things that just don't work for you anymore in a home environment. Whereas now the sun sitting in your daily routines, so really kind of emphasizing how you feel about your daily life, it's creating an opportunity for maybe more changes to take place in your home environment. So that one's a really positive one. So there's a lot of emphasis here on your daily life, how you think of things, your responsibilities. And I'm getting a lot of 5th house energy, 4th house energy. So there might be something here about getting ready for children or something connected to children. That's not going to apply to everybody, but that is an energy that seems to be coming up to the surface. We'll have the moon in Capricorn, sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so how you feel about yourself, the structures that you have in place, it's creating some sort of opportunity for you to really work on those financial goals, really internally reflect and maybe pivot some of those goals that you have for yourself from personal finances. The sun in Cancer, so your daily routines, your daily life easily blends with whatever your financial goals are here. That's not one that's going to require any effort. Then we'll have the moon conjunct Pluto retrograde. So the moon in Capricorn. So again, thinking about how do you feel about yourself internally, the structures that you have in place, your responsibilities, things like that. It's going to conjunct, meaning that the energy is easily going to blend with whatever changes you're trying to make outwardly. So it's your inner and your outer full alignment here. So really positive from that perspective. And because there is this full alignment between your inner and your outer selves, there is some friction here with that sun in Cancer. So the sun is going to be opposite Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So how you feel about your daily life is opposite to the changes that you're trying to make to your physical person. And so this is a push-pull. You can find the happy medium. It just requires you to really work through this one. This one's more difficult than a square to work through, but it is possible. And then we have the sun enter the sign of Leo. So that's again, within hours of that full moon. So this is going to happen on the 22nd at 3:45 in the morning Eastern time. And so when the sun enters the sign of Leo, first, the sun rules Leo. So it likes to be here. It's sitting in that 7th house. So that significant other, those one-to-one relationships. This is about bold expression because the sun does like to express itself. And so really love to see that bold expression in those relationships or in that specific relationship, because again, you might have other key relationships in your life that are also kind of governed by that house. The sun in Leo will trine at Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so whatever bold expression, conversations you might be having with this other person easily blends with whatever your financial goals are. This sun in Leo will also sextile Mars in the sign of Gemini. And so really kind of expressing yourself within your significant relationship here. It's creating an opportunity for you to take some sort of action in your house of children. Could be hobbies, passion projects, things like that. But this is also where children might be in the mix because Mars and Gemini, this is an informed action that you're taking. So it's something that's been really thought through before you do anything. Not going to apply to everybody. I'm just putting that out there now. Not everybody is ready for kids or in a place where they can have kids, all of those things, but just calling that out there. Sun in Leo will also sextile Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so if you're looking to make some sort of changes here in your home environment, the way that you're expressing yourself within your significant connection, it's creating an opportunity for you to make those changes, to get rid of those things that just don't have value for you anymore. We'll also have the sun in Leo opposite Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so again, how you're expressing yourself within your significant relationship here, it is opposite the changes that you want for yourself, the way that you want to be seen. It is an opposition energy. It's that push-pull. You do have to find that happy medium. And then we have Mercury enter the sign of Virgo. So that's going to happen on the 25th at 6:42 in the evening Eastern time. And so Mercury does rule the sign of Virgo. It also rules Gemini. But the difference here with Virgo is Virgo has this additional element of healing connected to it. And so when I think of tarot, the card of Virgo is Hermit, so it's about thinking and really analyzing data coming in, but with the purpose of healing. And so with Mercury in the sign of Virgo, sitting in your 8th house of transformation, it's sitting in your house of death and rebirth. And so it's really about understanding and thinking about what it is that you need to heal from. 8th house, like let's get rid of all the stuff that is holding us back. Because this Mercury in Virgo will trine Chiron in Aries. And so now this is where your wound is starting to come to the surface and we start to think about what do we need to do to address it. This trine Chiron in Aries, it means there's an easy blend of energy. So when you think about what you need to do in order to heal, as it relates to this wound, it's going to become very clear to you what you need to do, what actions you need to take. This Mercury in Virgo will square Mars in Gemini. And so this is where really thinking about that transformation, what is it here that I need to let go of in order to heal? It's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to actions that you maybe want to take within that house that rules children, your passion projects, hobbies, things like that. It is an energy that you can work through. So it's not impossible. It's a square. You're going to have to put some effort in here. And then we have Mercury in Virgo square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so really thinking about this transformation, what is it that you need in order to heal? What kind of obstacles or challenges are related to your home life and changes specifically? So Uranus, it's the planet, it's one of the planets of change. And so it always wants to remove things here. And so Uranus and Taurus, it only wants to hold on to things of value, get rid of everything that's not of value here, sitting in your house of home. And so whatever it is that you're trying to heal through, it's just creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to getting rid of something here in your home life that maybe doesn't have value anymore, at least not value to you. And then the next day, we have Chiron station retrograde in the sign of Aries. So that's going to happen on the 26th at 9:59 in the morning Eastern time. And so Chiron retrograde is all about these wounds coming to the surface. Chiron is the wounded healer. And in the sign of Aries, Aries wants to take some sort of action to heal the wound. It doesn't want this wound kind of sitting around festering. It wants it to be addressed. And so when Chiron stations retrograde, it's actually going to conjunct the moon in the sign of Aries. And so this is about really understanding the depths of how this wound is affecting you. What actions do you need to take? What is the impact of those actions that you need to take from an emotional standpoint? So there's a lot of emphasis here on the actions that you need to take, but also there's an emotional element connected to it. It's all sitting in your third house. So your communication, processing information, all of it. This Chiron retrograde will also trine Mercury in Virgo. And so again, when we think about Mercury in Virgo, more healing energy sitting in your house of transformation, what do you need to let go of? What is it you can let go of and that allows you to heal this wound that's coming to the surface? Chiron retrograde in Aries will also trine Venus in Leo. So whatever you're doing with your significant other, whatever you're doing within those significant connections, if you think of it that way, like all those are really important people in your life, there's things that you're doing to work on those relationships and maybe holding on to what you value within those relationships or working on something here with those people individually that's helping you heal whatever this communication wound is that's coming to the surface. And it's kind of aiding in whatever actions you need to take in order to heal that wound. Chiron retrograde will also square Pluto retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. And so this is where that wound that's coming to the surface related to your communication, maybe the way that you're thinking about things or the way that people think about you, it's creating some sort of challenge to the changes that you want to make to yourself, the way that you want to be seen by other people. And so it's a square energy. It is something that you can work through. Again, just requires effort on your part. So Aquarius, this is your reading. I hope it resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.